Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy, with the Art History Tarot for Past Lives. Well, I think I've seen two people review this, certainly Kasha at the Tarot Map, and then I thought there was somebody else as well. And I love the art. I'm a sucker for art, and it's reasonably priced. Does she have her, what? She has her red orchid all over everything, but where's your website? www.redorchidpublishing.com. So, yeah, in the US, so go ahead and, check her out. It wasn't terribly expensive and great art, a very unique deck way of using the tarot. I haven't tried it yet. It comes with this little velveteen bag with a little red orchid on it. The box has one of these creases so that when you open it, it works like that. So I'm going to walk through it. So one thing that surprised me that I'm not sure I was getting when I watched the other reviews and walkthroughs, first impressions, that sort of thing, is that each card, there are cards that are specifically places. Give me a place. Well, here's a time before Christ, and then they have Mother, and there are specific, there's Europe, and there's the Americas. There's the High Middle Ages. So they have specific times and places as well as specific people, Japan. But each card, regardless of, I'm not sure about the Fool, but so here we have Africa. But it also will have a time associated with it in the book. So in the book, and even this, it also has a place associated with it being Italy and the time being the Renaissance. This, of course, is Africa. So the place associated with it is Africa, and the time is the 17th century. So on some of these cards, you have the place right here. And in some cards, like Friendship, what is this? The Three of Cups. Of course, what else would it be? It also has, in the guidebook, place and a time associated with it. So this is associated with Poland in the 18th to 19th centuries. And in part because the painter was Polish. And it was painted in the 1800s. So, so just really interesting. Really interesting. So each of the, just to show you, this one is a little confusing to me because it's a picture of Belgrade. I would have called this Hungary, but it's being conquered by the Ottomans, I guess. In any case, so it's Turkey. It's called Turkey. And it's the 16th century is what they're calling it. Here they're even giving it Scorpio water sign cups. And what is, this is the traditional card would be the Ace of Cups. And then it has root energy, which to me, the root energy is kind of the traditional interpretation. So you can use this as a traditional tarot deck. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. Or oracle, because this being conquest, and like this is a tower that's going up in flames right here. You can't see it here. If I show you the card, you get it. That I think that you could just interpret them, disregard traditional meanings and just interpret the images. There are just some marvelous images in here. So it ends up being a very versatile deck that can be used for, the past lives that it was intended for, or an oracle deck, or a traditional tarot deck. It just is very versatile. So it has the root energy, then it has in a past life. So here it says at least a significant part of a past life was lived within Turkey. You may have Turkish ancestors. Alternative interpretation, the Ace of Cups denotes a strong potential for unconditional love. Any relationships denoted in the spread have a far-reaching history of love within them. You should feel an unusual amount of acceptance from this person. So if we just, again, kind of skip through the book, here we have the Traveler, which is the Knight of Wands. Root energy is pursuit or drive. There's always information about the art, the artist, when it was painted, the name of it. I think the name, that information is also on the bottom of the card. So you have Archangel Gabriel in the Annunciation by Filippo Lippi, 1489 to 91. It's the Fool card, and then it's that. So this says for past life, it says the Traveler card can be either you or someone very close to you with a good dose of wanderlust. This indicates someone who spent a significant portion of their past life on the move. Vagrant lifestyles often manifest in modern life as someone who likes to shift careers or someone who is happiest when they are about in the world rather than reclusive at home. Artist types and free spirits often carry the energy of the Traveler. The place for this card is Netherlands. The time is the 17th century. Alternative interpretation, the Knight of Wands is a pursuit card and often means someone pursued a person or thing with great intensity. In relationship readings, this means one person chased the other intently. If so, the experiences from a past life convinced them not to let that person get away a second time. So, just really interesting. I haven't tried to do any readings yet because I wanted to do the walkthrough, because I haven't seen too many yet, and this deck deserves it, deserves attention, and again, it's not terribly expensive. And I think the first time I saw it, I just discounted it, like, surely that's just too expensive, I'm not even going to look. But no, it's not. It's it's not as cheap as an Amazon. Well, even some decks on Amazon these days are pretty expensive, but yeah, it's doable, or it was for me. The author of the book did mention that she wished the deck did have more diversity, and she encouraged people to just go with their own intuitive hits on the cards. But one of the issues that she came up against, for one thing, 78 cards. You've only got 78 cards. In this case, it isn't only. You could have a separate deck that was all places and a separate deck that was all professions or crafts or whatever. So there's some obvious limitations here. And she had to go with art that was, I don't know if it was Creative Commons or, so how did she say it? She had to get art that was free for people to use, and probably came from a lot of historical or museum sites, I would guess. Whenever I've looked for Creative Commons or open license artwork. That's, you can go through national archives and stuff like that, often provide things like that freely. So the high priestess is before Christ. So this is Ceres, as in the goddess, I think also known as Demeter. So just some beautiful images. Look at that. So the mother for the empress. So she's got all kinds of relationships. Brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers. They don't have aunts and uncles, but yeah. Father. Religion. The lovers, obviously. So the chariot becomes America. Some of them I can get real relative, or with ease, and others not so much. But I find myself not really caring, because I mean this was quite a challenge for her to cover as much ground as she did. So she's got general Asia, and then she's got specific China and specific Japan. Yeah, and different conditions that people might have experienced. So she, it's almost impossible to criticize the deck, because really the project involved here is so ambitious. So yeah, that was premature death for the Hanged Man, and then death. Karmic lesson. And there's another karmic card, so I'll be watching. So this is karmic lesson. So I don't know if the other one is karmic relationship or something here. Slavery. The plague. So that's the Tower. It's the plague. And then Europe. Isn't that? I think that's just sweet to make Europe the star. South America for the moon, and somehow I don't know why that does seem fitting. Australia for the sun, which I think is also marvelous. The Middle East for judgment. And maybe it's, she's got the Sphinx there, and even, the preservation with the mummification, maybe the preservation with the expectation that they will rise again. Migration for the world. Just such wonderful images that she's found. Here's that Turkey where you can see, I think if my webcam will focus, that tower is on fire. Spouse for the Two of Cups. Friendship. Apathy for 4. Loss for the 5. Such a wonderful image, really. Oh. And even, it even got kind of the water in the background that's typical of that. So yeah, karmic connection. So not relationship, but karmic connection, as opposed to karmic lesson. So I really like that. And this essentially is a positive card. Poison for the 7 of Cups. Abandonment for the 8. Congo. This one I didn't quite get for the 9 of Cups. But again, no real criticism. It's like just, and really the purpose of this deck, to me, warrants some kind of tossing of traditional meanings. So 10 of Cups is twin flames. Daughter. It's such a wonderful image, and it's, what is it? Connemara girl. So yeah, Page of Cups. Hero for Knight. Loving woman, showing a Red Cross worker there for the Queen, and then for the King, benevolent man. And then we have Korea for the Ace of Wands. So we're in the wand suit. So the 2 is China. 3 is High Middle Ages. 4 of Wands is Late Middle Ages. 5 of Wands is Conflict. And of course, makes perfect sense. 6 is 16th century. And what is that? Oh, Discovery of Mississippi by DeSoto. The 7 is David and Goliath, Resolute. The 8 of Wands is the 18th century. So I suppose this is thinking of this in terms of a messenger, the image of a messenger. Prison, depression, and we are now at the 10 of Wands here, depression. So this is the Page, it's the Sun. The Knight is the Traveler. The Queen is the Visible Woman. The Philandering Man is the King. And now we're into the Ace of Swords for Japan. The 2 is genetic illness. Broken-hearted for the 3. Chronic illness for the 4. Violence for the 5 of Swords. Drowning for the 6 of Swords. Betrayal for the 7. Oppression for the 8. You know, like I say, you know, she's actually, although she could get up and walk away, she's surrounded by, it's like they're taking the adult men away and they're leaving them there. The 9 of Swords, she very kindly titles it Dreams. The Page, no, the 10, I'm sorry. The 10 is Murder, which makes sense. So here's the Page is brother. Soldier for the Knight. Rational woman for the Queen. Rational man for the King. And this is the King of Sweden, I believe. Yes. Johan Karl the 14th Johann, King of Sweden. Mexico is the Ace of Pentacles. India for the 2. Old age for the 3. Greed for the 4. Starvation for the 5. Charity for the 6. 17th century for the 7 of Pentacles. Greece for the 8 of Pentacles. The 19th century for the 9. And Mexico for the 10. Well, what was the ace? Why was I thinking? Spain. Okay, this is Spain and Mexico. All right. So the Latin countries, and get the pentacles. Isn't this beautiful? What a beautiful image. Sister, another beautiful image. This is the Knight. True friend. Doesn't he have just that look, that very kind look? And then for the Queen of Pentacles, Indigenous woman. And the King of Pentacles, Indigenous man. So there it is, the very beautiful Art History Tarot, full of, I mean, great images. This deck could be used all kinds of ways. She does have a spread. Oh, look at that. It shuffles, riffle shuffles nicely as well. These are the backs, are the red orchids. She does a great job of branding. Her package, which I don't have handy here, the envelope it came in was red. I mean, she does a great job of branding. Excellent branding. And but I haven't given you her name, have I? Branding, branding, branding. And she's Melanie Eva Henson. So I'll go ahead and I'm not going to pull a card because I do want to give some thought in terms of what I'm going to ask and what information for myself that I actually want from this deck. And I want to give it a good shuffle. What's wanting to tell me already? Mexico, an indigenous woman. Anyway, but those are, what are they, the 10? Yeah, they're the 10 and the queen. So, let's take a look at, she does offer a spread. And because she kind of assigns, I'm sorry, so it's a 6-card spread, so it's like the beginning of a Celtic cross, where you have a core card and she has a crossing core. And ideally, a time and a place show up as one of these. So in other words, a card that at the top of it says something like Spain, and then this one would say something like the Renaissance or something. Ideally, it would come up here in one of these positions, but if not, she has kind of a hierarchy here of where you should then look for the time and the place. So you have core here, which is where and when, so you're looking for the time and the place for 1 and 2, and then 3 is passing influence, what you still carry from the past. 4 is your interior qualities. 5 is how others see you. 6 is how life is manifesting now. So that's the spread that she offers there. But again, she also says in her introduction to please please use the deck however you see fit. She's a tarot reader and a medium, and so she wanted to create this deck so that she had a tool that had both the features of the tarot and more readily facilitated her mediumship. So very interesting and a beautiful deck as a result. So thank you to her. I've got Karmic Lesson wanting to jump out at me. So yeah, I'm going to think about this, and then I'll come on and show some things. I can think of a person that I would like to get a feel for what if we had a past life connection. And I think if I were doing that, and if my question were something like, did I have a past life connection with so-and-so, then I would want to see that karmic connection card show up. And I think if it didn't, then I would assume that we didn't have a karmic, regardless of what other cards came up, I would sort of let go of the notion that we had a karmic connection. Now, and I don't know that I don't know that that necessarily means that we didn't meet at some point in a past life, but that it's not karmic in nature. So the other thing that I was thinking about, there's somewhere along the line, somebody had a tag or something that, or featured a past life reading, you know, a spread about past lives. And the issue of poverty did come up. And so I'm really interested in exploring using this deck to explore issues around money and or when I was reading a book, and I think my sister may even have suggested this, it has occurred to me that there's like a soul contract, is that what they call them, where you made a vow in a past life. And this was I was reading a book about shamanism and about kind of cutting cords and undoing those kinds of contracts. And, you know, so I've wondered if I had this card just popped out for me. And that may be significant because there's another thing, now that I think about it, that I wanted to explore as well. So maybe that card was just to say, oh, and don't forget, Jennifer, you need to explore this too. If at some point in a past life I had a vow of poverty, and that wouldn't surprise me in the least, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least if it were something involving religion, because I've often thought that becoming a monk would be an easy thing for me to do. Just easy peasy. I just don't want that level of restriction in my life. But the silence, the simple lifestyle, I could have done that in a heartbeat if that were a more common thing. You know, I could see easily having been a nun in another life, easily. But the other, when the Three of Swords popped up there, the loss or heartbreak. One of the things that I've also wanted to explore in terms of past life is why I get so emotional when I see movies where there's a rescue, and or even think about scenes in movies. Like it can be years later, in a scene from a movie in which there was a rescue of some kind comes up, and I will just, start to feel overwhelmingly emotional. And I've always wondered, is it that there was, well, I've always wondered about it. I haven't always assigned it to something in a past life, but I have started to wonder if there wasn't some situation in a past life where there was an attempted rescue that failed, that resulted in heartbreak, and that's why in this life, when that scenario comes up, even though these scenarios are in movies, and of course there's a positive ending, why that triggers me so much emotionally, because there's certainly nothing in my life in this lifetime that gives me any reason to have that kind of emotional response to those kinds of scenes. And here China has come up for me. What is that? The Two of Wands. I'm not getting any particular message out of that. So yeah, there's some things I want to explore, and I want to think a little bit about what I want to know about them and what questions I want to ask in regard to them. So anyway, don't be surprised to see the art history for past lives, art history tarot for past lives showing up on my channel again. Probably 2 or 3. I don't know how many things did I just bring up. 2, 3, 4 times. Before too awful long, I'll probably do a series of them. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.